Wow, what an episode we have for you guys today. Answering lots of questions and actually learning a whole lot too. So enjoy.
Thank you.
Mayor Rich, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on our podcast today. So let's get started. Dion, do you want to answer?
Yeah, we'll get in.
The first question?
Let's get straight into it. I am going to just introduce the series again with coming up the elections. Teresa, when are the elections coming up? First question.
3 weeks and 1 day from now.
She's got a timer going.
Yeah.
So we got that coming up. So as part of that and wanting to make sure the residents of Farmington Hills are informed, we're doing a series where we're trying to interview all of the candidates. We're trying to keep it neutral, informative, and consistent. So no gotcha moments. Our goal is to inform and not ambush the candidates. If there is a number or policy detail that isn't immediately available, and there's you're welcome to tell us what that is after we record, and we'll make sure that gets included just to make sure that everything that you want to get covered got covered. So with that, every candidate received the same core topics, same core questions, and the same amount of time. So we're keeping these between 30 and 60 minutes. It'll be more of a conversation as opposed to a Q&A. So as there'll probably be some back and forth between all three of us as this conversation progresses. But so as we're getting started here, the first topic is the role of the mayor in Farmington Hills. In your opinion, what is the role of the mayor of Farmington Hills, and how does it differ from like the city council or the city manager, and like what's a primary week-to-week focus of the mayor in the city?
So, like most cities, Farmington Hills has a city manager mayor form of government. And so the city manager is responsible for the running of the city, the administration of the city. As mayor, my role is to set the agenda, to run the council meeting, and the way and every mayors differently, right, within those parameters. And so the way I am choosing to mayor is to really lean into the role as ambassador for the city. And so what that means is I'm in the schools regularly. I am meeting with businesses, with developers, doing a lot of work partnering with the chamber to make sure that people feel welcome and wanted and included in Farmington Hills.
All those ribbon cuttings.
Oh my gosh, all the ribbon cuttings. I had somebody mention to me today, well, you know, she kisses a lot of babies, but what else does she do? And so I look forward to getting into that because a lot of what I've been doing is working with developers to have interest in the city and to come into the city. So, yep.
And that's something actually we cover quite a bit on the show, even outside of these interviews, is upcoming developments. We
So
talk about
much.
like planning board meetings a lot of the time too,
Yeah.
a lot of the residential development. So that is kind of the focus of what we cover a lot just in the show. So definitely excited to jump into that too.
Another thing the mayor does is appoints people to our boards and commissions. And this is a really important role because the boards and commissions tend to be the feeder population for who's going to be on council one day, who's going to be mayor one day, who's going to be a state rep. And if we look at the people who are running for office now, most have been on a board or commission. And that means they were appointed by a mayor once upon a time. And before I was on city council, I served on 3.
Which three?
So Nancy Bates was my first one. I was on the committee to increase voter participation. She said, Teresa, I want you on a board. And I said, I'm raising children and working full time. No. She said,
yeah.
And now here we are.
That sounds very familiar. Yeah.
Right. And you really didn't tell Nancy Bates no. And so Nancy said, no, I want you to be on this one. It's not going to be an awful lot of work. You can handle that.
Yeah.
Okay, so fine. So I was on that one. And next thing you know, it was, hey, can you also be appointed to children, youth, and families? So I did that. And then later I was I was elected to the Oakland Schools Board of Education. So I did 14 years on that. But when I was elected to that, I thought that was just too much to continue with because I was still working full time and raising children. Right. And so I stopped doing that to be on the Oakland Schools Board, and then later I really wanted to be on the Arts Commission, and so I was appointed to the Arts Commission. I think it was Vicki Barnett, Mayor Barnett, first time through, appointed me to that one. So I served on those three.
What year did that? What year was the first when you?
Oh
first got
boy.
assigned? Like maybe maybe this is an off limits question here.
No, well, okay, because I'm not. Yeah, my gosh, yeah, no, it. Well, I went on the Oakland Schools Board in 2010, 2011, so this would have been in the early 2000s, the late 90s, and really all of my political involvement started with Judge Parker. And her first campaign for judge, she is a friend of my sister-in-law, and I got a call saying, "Would you put my friend Marla's sign in your yard?" I said, "I don't know from Marla." So she calls me. Next thing you know, Brian and I are working on her campaign. Well, she lived around the corner from us, so next thing I know, she's got me on the subdivision board. And then she encouraged me to be appointed to our Children, Youth, and Families Foundation. And so I did that for 10 years. And so yeah, that was
so much need for leadership.
There
that
is.
If you're one of those people that is willing to like jump in and get your hands dirty,
there.
everyone comes out of the woodwork
Yes.
looking for help.
Oh my gosh, right? And so when I was on the Foundation for Children, Youth, and Families, I was just a corporate drone raising kids, and I didn't think I was an anybody. And Mayor Nancy Bates was the mayor at the time. Judge Parker was on it. The superintendent was on it. Joanne Smith, who's a former mayor, was on it. Jan Dolan, who was a former mayor, former state rep, was on it. And what I didn't know at the time was Joanne and Jan and Nancy were basically grooming me for where I am today. But I had no idea, right?
That's how all the boards work. Is you get
Yeah.
there's succession plans, and they have to be sustainable. So you're always training the next in line. So for sure.
Well, what a way to learn about the inner workings too before you become mayor is to just get this like behind the door scene.
Yeah, I never ever wanted to be one of those people who had their name on a sign in people's yards or had to raise money. And it was Nancy Bates who got me doing it. And Nancy and I politically were very, very different. She was a Republican and I'm very much a Democrat. And now our roles are nonpartisan. And and after Charlie died and she wanted to come back to council, she said, "Theresa, I want you to be my treasurer." And I said, "No, because you're one of these and I'm one of these, and I think that's not a good idea." And she said, "Well, you need to learn campaign finance." Again, I wasn't paying attention to what she was doing. "You need to learn campaign finance, and there's no Democratic or Republican way to get your trash picked up. So be my treasurer." And, right? And it's not like I could tell her no.
Of course. And actually, looping back to what you said about the importance of those committees, I think you ran as mayor on the first time as making inclusion a theme of your leadership and making sure that those boards had better representation too. How do you feel that progress has been throughout your first term as mayor and on those boards?
I am so proud of what we have done in this city with our boards and commissions. So the way it works is mayor nominates, and so the appointment, and then council approves. So you were asking, what is the interaction? That's a part of the interaction. And so I have made over 50 appointments to boards and commissions. And, back to that, all she does is baby kissing and go to parties. But the thing is, when I go to those events, I'm recruiting.
Right.
Yeah.
You're meeting your neighbors.
Exactly. And so I have reached in deeply into all of the diversity that is Farmington Hills. So I've appointed the first Chaldean members of our boards and commissions. I've doubled the number of Muslims. In fact, one of them that was appointed was actually there at the council meeting that I appointed her, protesting. And because we need all the voices, right? Yeah. And now she's running for council. And so increased the gays, increased black, increased Asian, Indian population, very much more. Tonight we have someone who has some very serious disabilities and is a great disability advocate. And so I've just been waiting for a position on Parks and Rec to be able to appoint him. And tonight he's up for appointment. I love that. And so, how did that one happen? I'm really proud of the progress, because when you look at the composition of our boards and commissions today, we are very close to reflecting the diversity that is Farmington Hills.
That's huge. I mean, as a lifelong resident, went to Farmington schools as a kid. It's always been a very diverse community, even more so now than 20, 30 years ago. And as I've been in the city, I've always felt that the city government didn't necessarily reflect that over the last, X amount of years. And I also have heard what you've said and seen what you've said on these boards and committees, that it is way more reflective of the city.
And one thing that was important to me, though, in doing this is I did not ask a single person who was already appointed to step down. And so when I first came in, I heard a little, she's going to be all political about it. I have appointed Democrats and Republicans and independents and if somebody was already on a board or commission and wanted to continue serving, I reappointed them.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. It is awesome.
Well, and it's like what we were just saying too, is if anyone has any level of leadership ability, anyone's just looking for people to volunteer their time. And so you can't really be picky either. Like you have to choose who's willing to do the work. It depends. Farmington Hills might be lucky in that there is a lot of people that want to chip in here, but it is when it comes to committees and boards and that kind of stuff. It can be hard to recruit, and you have to find the people who are willing to do the work.
Well, and so many of them never had any thought that their voice would be wanted. And so I run into somebody at a restaurant, and so tell me about you. And so my shtick at a restaurant is and my poor husband, Brian now knows we build an extra 20 minutes into every time we go to a restaurant, right? Because I've got to hit every single table. And I say, hi, I'm Theresa Rich. I'm the mayor of Farmington Hills. Thank you for spending money in our city today. Are you one of my 84,000 bosses? And if they say, and I always get that response.
Yeah, everyone chuckles at it, I'm sure.
Yeah. And if they say yes, I say, great, here's your ask me anything. And I get to know the people in our community. So basically it's a candidate forum every time I go to a restaurant, and I haven't cooked much in the last 2 years, so there's a lot of that. And then of course if they say no, I say, well, where do you live? And they tell me, and I go, you have to live somewhere. Someone has to live there. Thanks for spending money. And then go on to the next table. But I have met so many people that have eventually been appointed to our boards and commissions just doing that ambassador of the city role.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah,
that's huge. That is, I think that maybe a lot of listeners wouldn't realize that's such a huge portion of the mayor's role in the city. So thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome.
It is. So kind of staying along the lines of structure and what it means to be mayor, this question came to mind because I think people know it, but they don't quite understand how it works. And that is the combination of some services between Farmington and Farmington Hills. What does it look like? What is actually combined where there's shared services? What isn't? What does that relationship look like? I don't want to get too much in the weeds, but I think a lot of listeners are curious, just like what does that look like?
Right. So we have a lot of shared things where Farmington Hills provides for services to Farmington residents. And so parks, for instance, the libraries are shared and they have their own millage. So libraries run themselves. We appoint the library board members. So for some reason, I don't understand, even though they're 11,600 and we're 84,000, they get an equal number of appointments, which makes no sense to me.
It was in the bylaws.
But it's in the bylaws. It's in the rules. So, you don't overturn everything. Right. And so that's equal appointment. So they have 4, we have 4. We give resident rates for the Hawk for instance. However, and Farmington pays Farmington Hills a set amount. We provide dispatch. We're now providing the ambulance service. Yeah, that started about a year ago. Yeah, we're providing the ambulance service. Yeah, because that was a big dissatisfier. Yeah, for the residents of Farmington, and so, that is the way that goes. Now, I will tell you that I have a burr under my saddle about.
I could feel it. I could feel it.
So I have a little burr under my saddle about this one, in that I do not believe that Farmington residents pay their fair share. Phrased another way, Farmington Hills taxpayers are subsidizing Farmington residents, Southfield residents, a little bit Livonia residents, for some of the services that we provide. Senior services, for instance. And so we may charge an itty-bitty bit for it.
For out of city residents.
Right. Yeah. But I will tell you, a year and a half ago, when we were doing some budget prep, I said, I want to see an analysis of what Farmington pays and the city of Farmington pays and the value that we're providing. How much does it cost for us to provide this? And there's a disparity. And when we had the study session on it, Mayor Theresa, I called Joe ahead of time because, we... So...
Don't want to spring this on you, but...
We're going to be talking about this at a study session, and there's going to be some conversation happening. And that's where it is right now, is still conversation. Yeah. But, one of the things people want to talk about is how much are our taxes, right? And
high in both cities.
They are.
I know Farmington's millage is like equivalent to that of Birmingham. Like, our taxes are not low.
No, but you got that leaf pickup, right?
You got that leaf.
That is worth its weight in gold, let me tell you.
Oh man. But there are some things that we need to continue the conversation about. I know when we're looking at services provided at the Hawk, resident rate versus non-resident rate, these are conversations we're having that are very, very timely, because as we know, there is we are not fully covering the fees. We don't expect to cover all of it, but we're digging into fund balance more than we should be, and so and into the general fund than we should be for some of these special services, is what we call it.
And we do know, like, the Hawk is a particular budget line item issue for the city too, so that's of course trying to figure out how to balance that line.
Which
budget.
I feel like it's somewhat expected with it being so new. There's how is there not unknowns?
Right.
Going into the creation of the Hawk. Like, that's life.
It's a learning experience.
That's life.
So yes, and yet, have you done construction in your home? Right? Have you done a project in your home?
And it goes exactly as planned every time.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
No.
It's the opposite.
No. And so, okay, so I was on council when we decided to buy the Hawk. And then I was not for 4 years. And people can Google all the story behind. But I was not for 4 years. And frankly, never intended to come back as mayor. That's Maria Taylor's fault. No, this was not on my bingo card.
Wow.
No.
I did not know that either.
Yeah.
Actually. I've listened to quite a few interviews. That's the first one.
Nope.
The first time I've heard that.
Nope. That was not on my bingo card. I was retired from General Motors. I was practicing law. I was making money. Life was good.
Everything was
good. And and then Maria Taylor said that we were at the Toast to Education back in 2022. And Councilmember Taylor said, so next year's an election year. What are you running for, council or mayor? And I said, no, I'm good. I'm good. And she said, nope, you've been doing too much. And during the time I wasn't on council, I went to Michigan State to a really marvelous bipartisan program called Michigan Political Leadership Program, where it's half Dems, half Republicans, half men, half women, and we argue for 11 months.
That's cool.
Yeah, one weekend a month for 11 months.
That's cool.
And then I also had a scholarship to Harvard for senior executives in state and local government. That was a 3-week residential, again, argued for 3 solid weeks. And I was just so enthralled with what I was learning. I actually ended up staying on, continuing the executive ed certificate at Harvard through the Kennedy School, which I did complete last spring. But thank you. But Maria said, "Okay, you've been doing too much school. You've been
around, yeah.
Okay. So what's it going to be, mayor or council?" And I looked at her and I said, "Well, I've already done council." She said, "Then I guess you're running for mayor." And I went, and my husband was standing there, and I looked at Brian and I said, "So, mayor?"
Yeah,
I feel like I
thoughts?
know his response too.
Mayor? And he said yes. Well, at the time, my son was on the school board. My son, Zach Rich, he was the youngest ever president of the Farmington School Board at 24 years old. They tapped him during COVID. Yeah. So Zach was, of course, there because it was a school function, and Zach's my campaign manager. So I said, somebody get Zach. And so
Make sure he's good with this.
Yeah. Which is that?
yeah. So he comes over, and I said, "So, mayor?" And he said, "Yes." And I went, "Oh."
It's real.
Okay.
So we ran out to the car, called my daughter, who was in Pennsylvania in med school at the time, and said, "So, Allie, mayor?" And doggone it, I had the hat trick. She said yes. And I was like, okay. So we went back in, told Maria, "I guess I'm running for mayor."
So this was all at Toast Education.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
That's actually, so, sorry, continue.
And I hadn't, I'm not much of a drinker. I'm what you call
Was
it.
it
I'm what
a
you
full
call.
punch card?
It was a punch card. It was no. I am what you call a cheap date because I don't do alcohol very well, so I do very, very little. So it's not like I was imbibing, but yeah, that was then. At that point, I think I did. But yeah, that was all at Toast to Education right there. It was not on my bingo card. Yeah.
That's cool.
And that's the perfect segue into our next question is, so
Yeah.
so if you weren't interested in being mayor the first time, why are you running the second time?
Oh, man. Listen, if I'm going to do something, I'm all in.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, absolutely all in. Well, I mean, okay, first off, Farmington Hills has stupid term limits.
It's short.
Yeah, well, there are only, I think, 7 cities in the whole state that have term limits like we do. Mayor can be, and we're separately elected. So unlike Farmington, it's two.
Is it 2 years,
two.
3 terms?
Two.
2 terms.
Oh, wow.
2 consecutive 2-year terms. So when I came in the door, I met with the city manager and I said, "Listen, I have 1,461 days to come in, get the job done, build the bench, and get out of the way."
It flies by, doesn't it?
And oh my golly, yes. And so, the first 6 months, you're meeting people, you're learning the job. And so, and I still felt we were doing some really good things. And what's been fabulous for me is I have relationships with mayors all over the country. We're texting on a daily basis, and they've just been so giving. Some of them have been mayor for decades, right? And some of them were like me, 53 days mayor when I went to my first conference of mayors. So why am I doing it again? Because there's so much more that can be done with the job. And I feel like we're on such a good trajectory. We have the arts ordinance that we're going to be looking at tonight. We have the Gateway Art is in process of being built. We're working on the zoning amendments, and there's so much more we need to do with that, with the master plan that we passed a year and a half ago. And so I want to continue pushing, because when I came in the door, I felt like our number one problem was complacency.
Yeah.
and I feel that what I've been is a catalyst. And knowing that it is a maximum of 2 2-year terms, I've just been laser focused on let's do this. So I've minimized my law practice to this.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And am spending my time mayoring like that. And I'm fortunate to be in a position financially that I can do that, right? But still, it's a very short amount of time. Those other cities in Michigan that have the short-term limits like we do, if you add all of them up in a population, they're barely half of our size. Wow. Yeah, wow. We're the 13th largest city in Michigan.
Not to go like too off topic, but like, what's the process of amending I guess it would be the charter?
It would be charter. So it would need to be a vote of the people.
Okay.
And so if that was something that I was to put forward, well, I mean, that would be very self-serving.
Of course.
And so I don't. Oh man.
That's honestly why it's not been addressed. Because it's going to be self-serving no matter who does it. It's got to be the people realizing like, hey, if we want change to happen and like a unified vision, we might got to adjust some things here.
Yeah. I mean, if we were smart, we would be 2 4-year terms, because elections are wildly expensive now, right?
It's already hard enough to begin with.
Right. And so, unless you're in a good position financially. Now, a lot of people will self-fund a campaign. I'm very, very fortunate that I reach out to just about everyone I've met since kindergarten and ask them to invest. So I have hundreds and hundreds of people who have made campaign contributions to me, and that will all be public. I think the publication date's October 24th for the campaign finance statement. But yeah, I mean, campaigns are very expensive, and so to be doing them every 2 years, basically you get elected and you've got to start fundraising again if you're going to do it. And so the good news is I've just about had my last fundraiser because I'm termed. Yeah.
Wow, that's fair, and I think it explained just like it was done. It makes sense. Why wouldn't it be 4 years?
Right.
Because financially, I don't think the mayor position should be. People shouldn't be priced out. It should have nothing to do with it. But that really is a whole separate conversation.
It is a whole separate conversation.
Yeah. So what?
Let's do that one after the other.
Yeah. Right. I love it. Sounds good. What are some of your biggest goals for the upcoming term if you do win?
Yeah. So. When I win, so we need to, no kidding, let's take action on the replacement of the Costick Center. The Costick Center is held together with baling wire and chewing gum, and we've made a commitment. We are keeping it open until a replacement is there. So that's got to be a big one. But a second one is, what are we going to do with housing? And so when we look at what the master plan says, there are a lot of things that are in the master plan, but we haven't yet put in the laws, the ordinances to make them happen and put the processes in place so they happen. So that's got to happen as a priority. Safety is always, always, always important, and something I'm very proud of is on my watch, we have added 8 firefighters. And so when I came in the door, only 3 of our 5 fire stations were fully staffed 24/7. Yeah. And now it's all 5 of them. And this is important because in an emergency, minutes matter. And so if you were in where we're sitting right now in the southeast part of town, or up where I live in the northwest part of town, those were the 2 fire stations that were not fully staffed 24/7. And so if you had an emergency that needed a paramedic late at night, they came from across town. And folks, time is tissue. So we did that, and we're working on becoming a heart safe community. Let's do another show on that, because that's going to be a really cool thing. And then
it sounded cool.
It is cool. We're cataloging where all the AEDs are.
Yeah.
And then some, and making sure we have people CPR certified and all that. But again. But then we need to take care of the corridors. So where we're sitting in the Grand River Corridor area, shame on Farmington Hills. We have neglected this area for decades. And now all of a sudden people have religion about we need to do something about it. When I came in the door, I said we have to do something about the Grand River Corridor. And I'll tell you who we thank for that is Mary Newland. Mary Newland was a council member. She lives in this area. She now chairs, I appointed her, to the Grand River Corridor Improvement Authority. And so with the push from our Economic Development Director, Tia Brockway, we did a corridor study. And I'll tell you what, there is so much opportunity in here. We could add 21 restaurants easily.
There's enough demand for that.
We are losing $35 million a year
That's crazy.
in food.
Wow.
And this area is a food desert.
It is.
You know, my son used to live around
Fast food,
barely that. And my son used to live around the corner from here until, he fell in love and moved to Southfield. But
we'll forgive him.
I mean, it was a beautiful wedding, and we love her, so it's all good. Right. I consider it a win all along, even though I did lose a voter. But if he wanted groceries, the only place he had was Target.
Wow.
And then Cares has a couple hours a week that they're open, right? So where are you going to grocery shop? And if you don't have transportation, where are you going to grocery shop, right? So when I came in, I said to the city manager, if a place looks like trash, we're going to treat it like trash. And the state of Michigan was doing all the cleanup. They're responsible for Grand River because it's a state road, right? And we have so many people coming through there every day. But it's a state road, and it was not well maintained. And so Farmington Hills has taken over the maintenance of that. So you don't see the trash along the road like you used to.
Fair. I 100% can tell a difference.
Right. Because if something looks like trash, you're going to treat it that way. And that's not okay for any part of the city. And I'm darned if that's what people are going to see when they come into Farmington Hills.
I feel like especially to the area, it's where Grand River splits and M5 comes in right by the temple. Yeah. There specifically. Yeah. It was really bad. It was awful. It was,
Yeah, and there are actually 2 temples in there.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. I was just there over the weekend. And then the other thing is we are tonight going to be approving, I hope, you never know till the vote happens, right? But pretty much. I mean, we're going to have a little bit of disagreement because you have 7 of us for a reason. We shouldn't all agree on everything, right? Why else would you need 7? And when you look at our composition, we are all over the board politically, and that's good.
It is.
So anyway, you go down the Grand River area. If you're a bus rider and you're a patient or you're an employee of the hospital and you're on a bus going eastbound and you get off on Grand River, where do you cross?
Right.
Yeah. Right? How do you cross?
Playing
The
Frogger.
city had a study about Grand River and crossing points and where people feel they need them.
Yes, exactly. And so tonight we are hopefully approving a contract about streetscaping it.
Love that.
Right. And we included in the budget money toward the streetscape. Plus, we also have money in the Corridor Improvement Authority. So a percentage has been put aside for that over a number of years. We have over $1 million in that now. Wow. Why? Because we weren't doing anything. So anyway, we have the money now. And so we're looking at potentially having up to 8 rental sculptures in that area to add interest, slow down traffic a little bit. And we're looking very seriously about what can we do about safety and crosswalks.
That's a big one.
Oh, all right. I learned so much. That's so cool. I had no clue.
And we talk all the time.
Yeah, we totally do. So
I'll take the next one.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's you.
For sure. Let's talk Costick Center because that's kind of a big issue this election.
Yes, absolutely.
And I would say one of the biggest issues this election, I feel like. So what's your vision for what the new Costick Center looks like specifically?
Okay. So...
And the timelines. And give me the one pager on the Costick Center.
Is there a one pager?
Give me your one pager
Yeah.
on the Costick Center.
Oh, my one pager's on legal paper.
Right.
Okay. So, first off, gotta have a new building. Okay. So, this whole thought that people have, so every year there's something different spinning. When I was running, the big spin was, oh my gosh, they're going to close the Costick Center in December. And I'm like, what? What?
Facebook's going crazy.
My gosh, so much. So, so what ended up happening is we're like, okay, let's handle that. Okay, number one, it is not going to go in the third floor of the Hawk. Okay,
There's no way.
right? First off, the Hawk is a 55-year-old building.
Has as many problems as Costick probably.
So many challenges, and including, you want to put people, many of whom have limited mobility, on the third floor.
Right.
What kind of silliness is this, right? That's not happening.
People who hadn't considered disabilities and accessibility and making
Right, and what if there's a fire?
exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
Okay, so
All things to think about.
Yes.
so for that and many reasons, third floor of the Hawk, no.
Right.
Okay, so what we've spent this last year doing, and I understand the impatience of the seniors because they live this every day. They're going to the Costick multiple times a week. It is where they have community. So what does that mean? We've spent the last year figuring out what is the what, because what we're building is not just for the seniors who are here. It's for the seniors who will be here when I'm no longer around, right? For when 40 years from now, when I'm gone, what are we still providing for you guys? Right? So
Keeping us here.
Yeah.
yes, exactly. So those are the things we're looking on. So what did we determine in this last year? Well, we have a number of non-negotiables. Non-negotiables are these. We must have a commercial kitchen. Why? Because we do Meals on Wheels out of our kitchen. Last year, so I reported this in the State of the City's address, 114,000 meals were delivered. Now, some of them in congregate meals at the Costick, but for the most part, Meals on Wheels. And I can't tell you how many people I have talked to who said, my mom's now here or not, and had Meals on Wheels, and there were 2 occasions or however many where the Meals on Wheels driver found mom on the floor.
Oh my gosh.
And if you talk to our Meals on Wheels delivery people, that is not an uncommon situation.
So much more than just Meals on Wheels.
Right? It is so much more. And, one of the Surgeon Generals said that we have an epidemic of loneliness and isolation in our country, and it's young people for sure too, but seniors, but seniors for sure. And so by having that connection is so important, and so you're getting sustenance not just for your body but also for your soul. And that's what Meals on Wheels does. So that was the first non-negotiable. Commercial kitchen, Meals on Wheels, congregate meals. Have to have a pool. And when our consultants came in with the first drawing of what it should be, they had a 4-foot pool. And that ain't gonna play.
No, it's
right?
not.
Because it's gotta be deep enough to do the deep water aerobic exercise. And oh my gosh, is our pool used like crazy for that. And we have lap swimmers. And it's gotta be warm enough so that people can use it and be comfortable.
Costs.
Because every bit deeper you go, every bit warmer you go. Yeah.
It's exponential.
And pools are basically big holes in the full of water that you throw in money. Yeah. And when I've looked at other senior centers, so Portage, for instance, has a brand new senior center. It's beautiful. Has somebody's name on it, really big.
Yeah.
But I went there. It's 3 stories, and I'm like, what are you gonna do if there's a fire? There's no commercial kitchen, so they don't do congregate meals, and there's no pool. And I said,
Use that building for.
well, and it's slammed packed.
I bet.
It is slam packed with all the other things going on. Same thing with Bloomfield.
Yeah, West Bloomfield. My in-laws go to the OPC in Rochester Hills, which is like also packed. All the classes are full, so it's a huge need in the community, in all of the communities.
Right. So need the pool. Need to have a humongous gym. So a single gym isn't going to do it. We need to have a double gym. Why? You ever go line dancing with the seniors? There's a big turnout. I show up with my pink boots and I go line dancing with the seniors. It's fun. Which and I'm saying it like I'm not one of them, but yes, I go line dancing with the group when I get to. And so we need a big double gym because we also play pickleball in there.
Right.
And
all season pickleball.
So, I mean, those are some of the main things. We need to make sure we continue the adult daycare for people with memory issues because that gives the respite for the caregiver. So the caregiver takes whoever it is, their loved one. And I talked to somebody the other day, her husband used to go. And so it gave her the chance to, go swim or take a class or just sit and read. So we need rooms for book club and for Tai Chi and for all of those. Plus we need a room where we can do the election processing. So, all of the above. One story though. It's got to be one story. Now, where are we going to put it?
Right. That's what the third question is how are we going to pay for it?
Exactly.
Okay, so let me tell you what I'm thinking on this one. And I know, and I know not everybody's going to agree on this one. And so where our options were, is there another office building in the city that we could convert? Well, I'll tell you what, there was one I thought was really a possibility. It was over on Haggerty. And we looked at it and the parking didn't work out. It was a single story and it wasn't going to work. Okay. Plus, remember, then we'd have to pay for land.
Right.
All right. Okay. So the main options were OCC on the west side of OCC. So on the east side of OCC, they're putting in the really the Little Caesars. The Little Caesars Junior Hockey Development. Yeah. And so if you own a hotel or a restaurant or you want to, I'd get it built because you're going to have business.
It's going to be a destination.
Yes, exactly. And really, when you ask me what is my goal, is for us to be more of a destination.
Right.
So OCC on the west side, the Calmer entrance on Farmington Road, we thought that would be great. And we had a conversation with the folks at OCC. And the conversation was, what I heard was, one of those leases for $1 a year for 99 years. And I'm like, cool. And then it wasn't. So if we're paying fair market value for the land, why are we going to do that if we have land? Correct. So 2 options remaining. Option number 1, keep it at the Costick Center property or put it somewhere at the Hawk. Mm-hmm. Now, Costick Center property, we own it. So both of them, we own it. So that's a neutral situation. However, Rose has the right of first refusal to purchase.
When was that agreement made?
Back when the contract happened with Rose.
Okay.
So I was not part of that to the best of my knowledge. But anyway, if we sell the land, that's money to put on the new building.
Right.
So I hear from people, I don't want the traffic on 12 Mile. I don't want to drive on 12 Mile. Yeah, by the Hawk. I get that. Yeah, I know that the traffic is calmer on 11 Mile. I hear you. However, hear me out for a second. What if this is the freeway and this is 12 Mile Road, what if we were to go in the entrance where the light is, block off, it could be a temporary block off, but basically block off where the main parking is going on, right? And have an entrance with a ring road, maybe even a walking trail nearby it, to go around, and then back where we have the practice football field and a baseball field. What if we put the standalone senior center there?
And backed up more to the highway.
Now, I'll tell you why you want it backed up more to the highway. and it may be a little taller than a flat a flat one story, because if you're selling sponsorship and naming rights,
It's right there.
it's right there on the freeway. And in my role as ambassador, I've been talking to people who are much more financially well off than I am.
Of course. Plenty of those around in Farmington.
And who either live here or they have businesses here.
Correct.
And I've been talking to them about things with a whole lot of zeros. And, would you be interested in sponsorship and having your name right there?
Right.
So let's say we get $3 million for that. Okay, so let's throw some numbers. So let's say we get $4 million for the Costick Center property, right? And so a new building's going to run us.
To the city too.
Thank you, and increase the tax base, right? So we figure between 25 and 30 mil for a new building, with everything we want it to have, right? Fair. And so $4 million, let's say, from the Costick property. Let's say $4 million from sponsorships, so we're up to $8 million. Now, we have a deal going potentially, probably, with Oakland County regarding Heritage Park. Yep. They want to give us, assuming we sign off on this in the spring, they want to give us $4 million.
A year?
No, up front. And that'll help us get money back because, we all agreed to this additional county park millage. Right. But how are we going to get some of that money back, right? We should be seeing it too, right? And we don't have other than Glen Oaks. Right. So what they want to do is call it Heritage Oaks. Now, I think it's going to be like Pine Knob, and everybody's going to call it Heritage Park forever and a day. But they want to have naming, so it would be a county and city, but it's still owned by the city. It's still a Farmington Hills park. They would run it. Now, I don't know what run it means yet. We're still in negotiation. Yeah. And the lawyer in me is just going, ooh, wait a minute.
Yeah. How much control are we going to give over?
Yeah.
Exactly. And and most importantly, what happens to our employees? Yeah. Because we need to make sure our employees are in a good place.
The preschool and
that preschool is, yes.
Friends who have kids in that program.
And love it. And yeah. So again, that's got to stay. So, but if we're getting $4 million from that, now we're up to 12-ish. That's half. Right. So then the other piece is Farmington Hills has been a very good steward of money, and we have a very healthy fund balance. It's in the $60 million plus range. And so we need to maintain a good chunk of it because you have to have a minimal amount to keep your AAA bond rating. Yep. Right, so we can't say, oh, let's just write a check out of the no, then we lose our bond rating and that right, and we're forever borrowing, that road projects and so on.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
So we can't do that. But what if we were to spend down at least some of it? I think it's doable to do it, and I am not in favor of a tax increase. No, I don't see. No, right, right. No, clearly not. But I really think that this is attainable. Yeah. And the other thing was we were up for $3 million grant money from the feds. Rep Stevens put in for it a couple of years ago, and unfortunately, last year's budget they never actually finalized a budget. They kept doing continuing resolutions, and because they never finalized a budget, we didn't get the money. And so then Senator Slotkin put in for us this year. They call it congressionally directed spending. And so Senator Slotkin put in for us this year. And unfortunately, we made it up till July, but then we got so that money's not coming. But that would have been a lovely thing too. And maybe at some point in time when we want to do some add-ons or whatever for Hawk or wherever else, there will be opportunity because administrations always change.
Right. Eventually. Yeah. Nothing set in stone.
No. But what we know for sure is we can't make bank on that. So where we thought it was going to be a slam dunk, let's get that $3 million, that's not coming.
So then explore other
figure
options,
it
tapping
out.
into the budget, sponsorships.
And you know, something Farmington Hills has never done a good job on is sponsorships. And you go to other cities, my buddy Brian Barnett in Rochester Hills, and I'll tell you the other thing that they do that we don't is they have lobbyists, and we don't. And so it's something that I wanted to introduce. Well, I tried to introduce in the budget last year, and council was like, "No, we don't. We're not going to hire lobbyists."
It could be loaded depending on how you choose to look at it.
Yeah, but they're getting money, and we're not.
Right.
So
Bottom line.
yeah. So it's something I think we need to continue to have conversation on. And the other thing we need to continue to have conversation on that we didn't touch into was, you know, with Heritage Park, with Woodland Hills, we have some endangered species. Yes, so we have the red dace minnow. That's in the Rouge tributaries, right?
I'm a big nature guy.
Are you? Okay, I did not know that. Okay,
so
well,
there's actually a beaver in Heritage Park too, which most people don't know about.
And Joe Derrick, our former naturalist, is one of my coaches. Okay, so he's in my kitchen cabinet, and he's just fabulous. So I mean, Joe stories, they're the best. Yeah. So the minnows, and then the woodpeckers.
There's pileated,
yep.
sapsuckers that migrate through. There's a lot of migratory birds, and there's owls back in there. There's
oh my gosh, the owls! I was at a friend's house the other night, and they live alongside Heritage Park, and the owls were having such a conversation. It was fabulous. Yep. Oh my gosh, I'd never heard anything like it, and so we need to do better on that. I think we need to work on being prepared for storms. So we've not done as good a job as we should on talking to folks who have homes with ditches about, you know, you don't need to have grass that you mow awkwardly, right? What if we had some indigenous, so that when those 100-year storms come that come every year, right, it's just going to pull the water down. And so that. And we've got mixed-use development coming up. So I answered Costick, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So
actually, I was going to say we are coming up on time, but I did briefly want to discuss redevelopment of these corridors because that is another big hot topic.
Yeah.
I'm going to use 12 in Farmington as an example.
Yes.
That whole,
my office is there.
Right, exactly. And also like west of Farmington as well, where it's all office building, all empty parking lots across from where I live.
Seas of asphalt.
And I'll even tie it back into the hockey junior AAA program that's going in at OCC. You mentioning it's a destination. That 12-mile corridor is primed to be, in my opinion, downtown Farmington Hills.
Absolutely.
And I agree with the changes you guys have made to the master plan. I had a ton of input on that throughout the process too. So what is the city's role and responsibility in redeveloping that parcel? Because the city can only do so much, right? Like it's changing zoning, it's changing that, it's building relationships, but it's also like it's privately owned land. So at the end of the day, we are at the mercy of what landowners want to do with their land. What can the city do to help facilitate the redevelopment of these corridors?
Well, we have at least 3 office building owners that are exploring a transition from office to residential.
Good.
And that's very exciting.
Yeah, that's exciting.
The ordinance we just recently passed, and by the way, we have an arts ordinance that we're passing hopefully tonight, so art funding. But the ordinance we just put in was, so if this is, again, 12-mile and that's the freeway, and we've got these big office buildings that have,
B1
various
through B3 zones. They were.
Yep. And behind them, the seas of asphalt. What we do have available now is zoning for mixed use and higher.
Oh, good.
right? And so that's passed. That is in place
high?
today. 4 stories.
So not a 5/1, a max of 4.
Yeah, right now it's 4 with a let's have conversation about it.
Give us a PUD and we'll decide.
Yeah. And what's interesting about that property area is the topography goes downhill.
Right.
So because it goes downhill, even if we were to go to 5, you can't see it from where you live across the way because of the curve. So I'm excited about this. So we've approved mixed use development back there, and we've approved outlots along 12 Mile. So those
Take away non-permeable surface parking and add more retail, add more,
Make it taxable.
make it taxable.
there you go. Well, that's exactly it.
Pay for a new center. So
There you are.
makes sense.
Is so again, what tools does the city have to help facilitate that kind of development beyond zoning changes and that kind of thing? Is there more tools? Is there more the city should do or could do?
I don't know yet. We have not been a city that gives tax breaks.
No.
And so is this a conversation we need to have? I don't know yet.
Right. You could even go the other direction and
Yeah, you could.
and say vacancy taxes too, which is also increasing a tax, which no one wants to do, but also no one wants a bunch of empty office buildings. So
Very, very true. So I think there are some creative conversations we need to have. And so one of the things I want to see us be is more aggressive in planning. And that includes more development friendly in terms of getting things through the system, right? There are cities that are known for being development friendly. We are not one of them. And this is something I feel needs to be put squarely on the goals of the city manager to work with us to become that way. Because if I think about what do I get complaints about, mayor is also, in addition to being ambassador, is also the complaint department.
Right.
And so my emails are, you're awful, I want something, and then my personal favorite, you're awful and I want something. But
You're not coming to the table with a lot here.
Yeah.
but you know what? That's fine. If they're reaching out to me, it's because they care about something, right? And so, we need to work on being better for that. So, but my number one complaint is development. Where's my permit? Where's my inspection? How come it's taking so long to go through planning? And sometimes we find out there's a little of this going on, right? And but we need to work on being the go-to for where companies want to come to develop.
You have a huge population center. You have a ton of amenities.
Yeah, and we have 75 of the Fortune 500 right here in Farmington Hills.
That's incredible.
It is.
Who would have thought?
Yeah. Seriously. Who
So
would've?
it's definitely, it shows that like the capacity's there, and we definitely need more of it, and it does increase the tax base, and it does provide more jobs for people who live here. It provides an increase in demand for housing, which there's already a ton. Last question for me, unless you want to ask anything.
No, I know we're getting close on time.
Yeah, we
Go
are.
ahead.
Is how do you balance redevelopment versus keeping the character the same? And I will add a little more background on that. Like Farmington's a very old design city. It comes from a very old mentality of city planning. The blocks of residential, the corridors of commercial, and that's not how we design cities anymore. So how should the city handle the transition in this redevelopment from the way it's been to where we want to go, while still maintaining the stuff that people love about it, the natural corridors, the quiet neighborhoods, that kind of thing? Because there's always going to be people who love that about the city, but you're going to want to attract younger people who are looking for different things. So
Walkability specifically.
how do you balance the redevelopment with maintaining the legacy or the heritage of the city.
Right. And that's an interesting one, right? Because our master plan allows accessory dwelling units,
Yeah.
right, in certain areas.
Right.
And I it'll be interesting to see when we pass that ordinance and how that starts to go because I think but I'll tell you where I think it is. I think the conversation needs to be around what do we as a greater good need, right? So when we talk to the people in the neighborhoods, the conversation is, well, where are your kids going to live, right?
Yep.
We all want our kids to live near us,
Close by.
right? We want to be able to have those close relationships, but we also know that to make those things happen, we need some different kinds of housing than we have today. We need more townhomes. Those are the number one requested format for families these days.
It's the new starter home.
It is the new
It's the
starter
new
home.
starter home.
And you see, for those of us who are on council, none of us are in that living situation. So it's kind of a foreign concept.
Right.
But if we look at where our kids are going to live, right?
Where are they buying?
Right. And what are they buying? That's what they're buying.
Right.
And so, we have this potential development over on 13 Mile that has townhomes and then ranches, single stories, more for seniors.
Right.
And originally that was supposed to be a workforce affordable complex. It was going to be apartments for people.
Middle housing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we don't have that.
There's no
Nothing.
middle housing.
We
There
don't
isn't.
have that.
You had to get
And-
it 10 years ago to get middle housing.
Right. And so we need to do a better job of that. Now, here's the thing. Our neighborhoods are our neighborhoods are our neighborhoods, right? But what are we going to do where we have the brownfield?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And what can we do? Because we're going to have to increase density.
You have to.
And
No
the other
question.
and the other thing is, so we're sitting at 84,000 strong. We grew by 900 and some last year. So where we would be in a sweet spot is if we could get to 100. And I'll tell you why, is that's where you get more grant opportunity.
Interesting. Okay, so yeah.
And
that's huge.
so when we hadn't done any strategic visioning since 2011, and we are just now finishing it now.
Right.
And so and that's part of what I did at General Motors. So when that we haven't done this since 2011.
Right, yeah.
What?
World's way different.
Yeah. No. So we're doing that, but part of it needs to be, how do we do that? And when people asked me, what do you see as the vision for Farmington Hills? I said, I want us to be 100,000.
Yeah.
And people went, whoa.
I know, it's kind of scary. People are like,
It
oh,
is.
traffic. Oh my God. Yeah.
But not everybody's going to drive. Right?
Once you build
When we
better
have
corridors,
have the multi-use, right? You're going to live where you work.
Right.
Or work where you live. You're
Shop
gonna
where you live.
you're gonna shop where you live. You're gonna go to the restaurants across the street. This is why where we had the Radisson that was going to be a senior assisted living needs to be apartments.
Right at 12 and Orchard.
Right. It needs to be apartments. And when they first talked about doing that as a senior assisted living, I wasn't on council at the time, but I came back to the meeting and I said, this is appalling. Right? We first
All
off,
of this space in a prime real estate location, right next to commercial.
welcome to Farmington Hills. This is where you go to die. And well, I'm a probate lawyer. I'm in and out of facilities like this, and some of them are fabulous.
Right.
But we know for sure seniors can be exit seeking.
Right.
And we're alongside a freeway. Are you kidding me?
Right.
Yeah.
And you've got all these people who are going to live here, and at least 12 restaurants within a 5-minute walk
That aren't going to be used.
that aren't going to be used.
Right.
But now we have somebody who's talking to us about apartments,
That's good. That's a
and
great point.
that would be great.
Yeah.
So
And that's, I can even tie in like the Hunter Square redevelopment too into that. Like I know people, it's very controversial.
It is very controversial.
Redevelopment, but I think it makes way more sense to have another grocery store in that spot, because if you look at, and we've talked about this on a couple episodes now, but if you look at what they're doing in West Bloomfield, like they're already adding tons of housing in West Bloomfield and adding to the traffic, and the traffic's already there. A grocery store is not an attraction.
It's not going anywhere.
And a grocery store is not attracting people. It's serving the people who are already there. And if you go down Maple, 14, Walnut Lake at any given time during the day, it's full of traffic because everyone's going to the Meijer over there, or everyone's going to the Costco, the Trader Joe's on the other way. And so if you can add more amenities to where people are already at, you're reducing traffic, you're creating a more desirable living space. I know there's tons of plans and has been going on to redevelop the area around Langens, the bowling alley.
For apartments,
for a big 5-over-1 there. And so that's going to be, once that happens, there's going to be a need for this kind of stuff. And so it makes sense, given the direction of the developer and the city, to facilitate that, because we have to update and modernize with the times, for sure.
So Dion and I actually had clipped a segment of us talking about the Mayor development and posted it. And it was hilarious because we're in the clip talking like how great it is, and every comment was like, "Oh wow, like this is the last thing we need. We hate Myers is terrible." I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, guys!" Like
think about it though. It's it's the standard grocery store. It's not Aldi. It's not Whole Foods. It's those serve different people.
There's an Aldi right across the street.
Right. So it's just you're just serving a larger
absolutely
group of residents at that point.
And it's a Michigan company.
Well, y'all may recall 2 years ago when that first came to a vote at council was my first meeting as mayor.
That was, I didn't realize that was your first one.
I got
the Marvins fallout.
The joke in the family is I got sworn in, and 10 minutes later I got sworn at. Figuratively.
That's hilarious, though.
Right. No, and it was a huge contentious issue, and honestly, seeing that process play out, because I was paying attention to it. I mean, it's Marvin's, right? Like everyone's paying attention to it.
And I talk to Jeremy all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's they had a great relationship with the city. It was never an issue, but there's so much misunderstanding about the city and what it has control over.
For sure.
And what the residents expected the city to take care of. That frustrated me for the city, because I was like, listen, I think the city has a responsibility to do X amount of things, but I also know that they can't overstep, and you wouldn't want them to overstep either. You don't want a city determining how a private business can lease out to people or whatever. And so I felt bad,
style.
and that's what made me want to start to do these podcasts to help educate residents, because I think people need a clear picture on how things function in the city.
So we should be talking about what board or commission you should be a
For sure. Honestly,
give me into the parks. Give me into the parks. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Trevor and I do work with the chamber, and Trevor does a ton of work on other boards.
Yeah, he does. He's everywhere.
He's everywhere. I own my own business, so I'm busy on the board of the business, so to speak. But yeah, right. But definitely, I have put some thought into it, and I absolutely love Heritage Park. It's my favorite portion of the city, and I volunteer Bluebird boxes over the years, so I've already done a little bit of volunteer with the Nature Center. But if I were to do anything, I had thought about it was like parks, because that's definitely what I'm passionate about.
Look at that.
So, yeah,
that's how
I look forward to seeing your application.
For sure.
And I do not have an opening right now because we're filling it tonight.
Yeah.
But when I do,
excellent. Sounds great.
I know we're getting close on time.
We are on time.
But what a conversation. Thank you so much for coming in. I learned so much today.
I did too.
That I did not expect to.
Definitely.
So that was really cool. And I have to give like a little bit of a testimonial just to Mayor Rich, because, I'm easy to say, grew up in a very Republican household. And, whether I align with you on all your views, I don't think we should, because that's not, we're humans. But, you definitely give people a voice who don't feel like they have one, and sometimes in really specific instances. So thank you.
Thank you. You're very welcome. before we finish up, was there anything else that you wanted to say, talk about that you didn't get to before we wrap it up?
Oh gosh. I think that we've covered the main things I want to make sure get covered. The main things that are important to me about how do we make our city more of a destination than we already are. And one of the things, though, I do think we need to do is an analysis of what is our tax structure. I don't think that that's something that we've looked at in a long, long time. And so we owe that to our residents to have the conversation of, okay, we're this many mills, I think it's 16 some mills. Is that right? And, what I've asked for is a comparison of Farmington Hills we compare to 7 other cities in the area, and those are our benchmark cities. And so I want to see where we are and why. There are some things that are very Farmington Hills specific, like our local roads millages that are not in other cities. Yeah. But I want us to be able to look our residents in the face and say, this is our tax structure and why. And if there's something that could and should be revisited, then that's what we should do. Yeah. And you're hearing this from a Democrat.
Hey, but you know what? It's important to speak to both sides.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really unfortunate this day and age. It's like, I think you start off by saying you're Democrat, and it's like, I feel like I haven't heard someone actually take a side in so long because
everyone's afraid to.
No one wants to talk about it because everything's so polarizing, and I think people just fail to see other people as people at the end of the day. So
yeah, I had the best event, not event, but happenstance the other day. I was meeting with a gentleman who's on the Emergency Preparedness Commission at Leo's, and I was doing my around the restaurant thing, and there was a guy in a MAGA hat. Now, I went up to his table and I said, "Hi, I'm Theresa Rich. I'm your mayor." He said, "You're doing a great job." I was like,
I feel like you didn't expect that.
Yeah, right.
No.
Now, my late father had one of those. Right. And so I was like, oh, Dad, I guess I'm okay. But anyway, yeah.
That, if you're looking out for the city, and it doesn't matter, where your views stand at the end of the day, we're all here neighbors together, and 100%. So it's a rising tide raises all boats, so to speak. So
thanks for the time, you guys. This was fun.
One more thing. If people want to figure out more about you and your campaign, where can they find that out at?
electteresarich.com. We are happy to have people who want to volunteer. We have yard signs in 9 languages because we're Farmington Hills.
Yep. I've seen them.
Yeah.
I heard you're probably the first candidate to have all of these different
I wouldn't be surprised.
Arabic languages.
I have Arabic and then 7 Indian languages.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah. That is our fastest growing population.
It is.
And if you don't know what we're talking about, just go on Orchard Lake.
Farmington Hills Manor, which is where we'll be election night. So thank you, everybody. Remember to vote.
Yeah.
And remember, there is a public safety millage on the ballot.
Yes. Very good.
All righty.
Thanks, Teresa.
Thank you.